Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. I do hope everyone is well and getting the results they want. This show is here to break down some real-world leadership challenges and turn them into simple, practical tools that you can use every day. Today, we're going to talk about something that every manager might struggle with at some point: cross-departmental relationships. So you know what it's like. You are going to be in an organisation, and it don't matter where you are, you're going to be in some kind of organisation, and there'll be some hierarchy, and you will have peers that run across. And you know the feeling sometimes, when you need the support of others around you, the other teams, but they're busy, they don't see your priorities as theirs maybe, or maybe the relationship is just a bit or a bit tense. Sometimes you need to look at how that's got to where it is. But in this show, I want to look at how we can try to tackle that, break down those barriers so that we can really fix them. How do you build trust? How do you get people on your side without forcing it? Because, again, you don't have positional power. And today I'm going to really dive into some 5 powerful questions that might help you build the relationship, build the influence, earn respect, and create that genuine collaboration across departments. And these questions work because they are out shifting the dynamics from I need something from you to we're on the same side and how can we win together. Does that make sense? Right, okay, let's dive right in and try to look at how we can break those down. So what we're looking at, we're going to try and get you on the same page, if you like. So first, let's have a look at this one. Before I go too far though, if you haven't already, subscribe to the show and share it with people who are like-minded and might be interested in learning how to be better leaders and management. And of course, let's frame it. Most cross-department tension isn't about the people. It's about 2 things: competing priorities, because everyone has the same thing, and a lack of understanding, coming back to communication. Your world will make sense to you, and their world will make sense to them. And the friction happens in the space in the middle. So the goal with this is simple. Understand their world before asking them to join yours. And the 5 questions I'm going to go through are exactly like that. They're about shifting you from being another demanding manager, wanting something from a department, to becoming someone who gets it, who wants to help. So let's kick in. Let's start with question number 1. What should you be asking? This is either going to be in a one-to-one situation or in a meeting or however you structure it. But it's better if you do it one-to-one. And it's, what are the biggest challenges your team is dealing with right now? And that is not asking for anything. It's opening it up. It's a single, most disarming question you can use to your peers because it gets them to talk about it. Most managers feel like nobody outside the department understands what's going on. They're battling day to day. They've got staff shortages, old equipment, last minute challenges, pressures from customer demands, and that list goes on. And when you ask that question, you're saying, before I talk about what I need, you tell me what you need. And that instantly changes the tone. Because when you're asking what are the biggest challenges your team is dealing with right now, it's about them and their team. So it works by people feel valued when someone shows an interest in their world. And that's the same for everything. If somebody came and asked you that question, you'd feel, oh, this person gets it. It's position you as a partner with that person, someone who can help with those challenges, not a problem, not someone who's adding to it. And it gives you those essential contexts of how to approach future conversations because you'll understand what the challenges are. So let's have an example of a conversation. Hey, before we talk about workload and planning in technical, what about the biggest challenge your team is juggling with this week? I want to make sure I'm adding value to you without adding stress. So it's simple, it's respectful, and it's human, which we all are just about. Well, most managers are. So let's go on to question 2. Question 2 is, what does a good working relationship between our departments look like to you? This question is beautiful because it invites them to co-create the relationship. You're not telling them what's good looks like from your perspective. You're asking them to support you, asking people to build with you. So what does that working relationship between our departments look like? And why does it work? Well, it exposes assumptions that may be causing tension. So it takes those assumptions that have been in the background, brings them out to the front, flushes it out. It shows that you want to align, not control. You want to be on the same page. A lot of managers get worried that you're going to take their department over, especially if you've got a background knowledge in that area. I've had cases where production manager and the engineering manager couldn't get on because the engineering manager thought the production manager was going to come and take over because he had an engineering background. But this is the good thing about this question: what does a good working relationship between our departments look like? It's saying, let's align, let's not control. And it builds that psychological safety we're always looking for. We're not attacking, we're collaborating. So how does it sound? Hey, I've been thinking about how our teams are working together. In your view, what does a great partnership between our departments look like? And then you shut up and guess what? You listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth and all that. So that's question number 2. Question number 3. Where do you feel our teams collaborate well? And where do we get on each other's way? So, again, now we're going to be honest, aren't we? We know there's going to be times where our teams are going to clash because there is some tension in all businesses, isn't there? But this is a constructive way to try to build that collaboration, using even the word collaboration, because the question brings up the issues in an open, without a blame. How can we collaborate? And where are we getting each other's way? Not where are you doing something wrong, but how are we not helping the team go where it is? Because it clarifies some friction points. And that's a good thing to do, flush them out. And it lets them raise concerns safely because you've asked it in that way. And it shows you're serious about that improvement side of it. You're not there to protect your department. You're not using your ego. You're just saying, where do you think we go well? And what can we build on? And where are we getting in each other's way? So great question. So again, let's have a look in a real world phasing of it. I think there are things we do really well together as departments, don't you? And areas that I think we could probably flow better on. From your side, where do you see our highs and lows? Now, people appreciate this idea of balance because it's showing praise. It's showing that everything's just not rubbish. It's showing there is goods, but there's also opportunities. And that's always the case. There's always going to be time for opportunities. So, good way of doing it. Let's go into question number 4. We're going to ask our peers, if you could change one thing about how our departments interact, what would it be? This is a brilliant quick win generator because this is somewhere someone's going to be able to go, well, I know exactly. And it invites focus, a specific answer. It's not going to be a 40-minute rant. It's going to be, could you change one thing in our department's interaction? How does that work? Well, it identifies the one thing that would make the biggest difference, you'd hope. Now, of course, you could question that your biggest difference might be different. But again, in this, you are being collaborative, you're listening. It tries to filter out the noise from the signals around. So it's asking that question, what's the one thing we could change? I sometimes say, if I had a magic wand, what would we change? I don't have a magic wand, by the way, just in case, don't write in. And it positions you as someone willing to evolve. People, especially if they've been there a while, become set in the ways the department works in a certain ways, the silos are created around them. So this gives you a chance to be evolving that collaboration and cross-team relationships. What does it look like as an example? Well, exactly what it says in the thing. So hi there. If there was one change that would make our handover smoother, what would it be? Most people have been waiting months for someone to ask that. They'll be moaning in the background, especially around handovers. Oh, God, that's awful when someone doesn't do it. This is asking, look, it's one thing we could change about handovers. What would it be? How can we make it smoother? How can our departments interact better? All not blaming, all thinking of growth, all talking about how we can work better. Okay, let's go to question number 5. What can I do or stop doing to make your job easier or help your team succeed? This is a ultimate leadership humility kind of question. It kind of says, I am extremely vulnerable. I am going to open it up that I know that I do stuff. So which of those things can I do? And it's very powerful to be there and have that vulnerability. Humility in leadership is a great thing to have, because you're opening up and saying, I know I get things wrong. What can I do or stop doing to make it easier? And it signals that I want to be a partner again. It signals I am going to build some trust. It positions you as someone who supports, again, not the demand, the support. And it creates a culture that receives feedback, looks at how we can be working together, and that naturally wants people to return to a position of working as a partner. And it might sound like, I want to be a better partner to you in this area. What could I start doing or stop doing that would make things easier for your team? This question alone can create an internal and very strong working relationship with that person, because they know exactly that they are going to get something from you that's different. You're not just going to say, you're rubbish, you don't do your job, your team, nearly swore, your team's rubbish. It comes back and says, I know there's things that I can do differently. I know my team can do things differently. Let's make it easy for each other. How do we succeed if we go down this route of working with it? So how can we close these conversations out? You've been there and you're asking those questions and you're listening. But of course, you've got to make sure that you don't slip into certain things, which can easily happen in these questions, because as in anything, you want to get the results you want, but you also want to make sure the team's with you. So, don't be defensive. Don't explain what's going on. Don't get into a row if somebody starts telling you what you've asked them, because next time you ask them, they're not going to tell you. So just listen. You close with some nice thing like, oh, thanks for being so open. Really appreciate what you said. Let's work on some of these things together. I want us to win on this site, so let's do this. And not just separate departments. We can be together and get them on it. And the idea is then that the person who has been on the other side of the question really feels confident that they can come to you and talk about things. They've shared the successes with you. Then they're going to try to beat those silos, because one success in one department should be the success of all. If one department's successful and everyone else fails, well, obviously it hasn't worked. And suddenly, you're not rivals anymore. Guess what? You're teammates. Wow, imagine that. So what are the takeaways of this? Here are the 5 questions one more time, just so you can get them. First question was, what are the biggest challenges your team is dealing with right now? Second one, what does a good working relationship between our departments look like to you? Where do our teams work well? And where do we get in each other's way? If you could change one thing about our department's interaction, what would it be? And the last one was, how can I do or stop doing things to help you be a success? Using these questions consistently and position yourself as a leader who listens and collaborates is a genuinely good thing to have. It shows you care to the wider business. It's not you just looking after yourself. It's being genuine. And that will allow you to build allies, break down silos, and influence people without force to get the results you need as a whole. So it's that time of the show where I'm looking for your feedback. Please send whatever you thought about the show, both good, bad and ugly, to managementpodcast@gmail.com. Leave any comments where you can. And if you look me up on LinkedIn, it's under Matthew Haddock, and there's lots of stuff on there you might find interesting. Well, that's it for Management this week. Thank you again so much for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.